The tension was electric the moment Kirk Frost walked into the room, and you could feel it through the screen. Fans are already reeling from the latest bombshell, and the whispers on social media are turning into a roar. Both Jasmine and Kendra have claimed they are carrying Kirk's baby at the exact same time. Emotions ran high as cameras caught every incredulous glance, every sharp intake of breath, every subtle flicker of doubt across the faces of friends and family who were witnessing this live. No one knew what to believe. Was this a twisted coincidence or a meticulously orchestrated stunt? The family was left divided, alliances shifting by the second, while viewers everywhere tried to make sense of a situation that seemed almost too chaotic to be real. Kirk, who normally tries to stay above the drama, found himself trapped in the center of a storm that threatened to unravel everything he had built. Friends whispered behind closed doors, old tensions resurfaced, and the usual calm of the LHHATL world evaporated into sheer pandemonium. Meanwhile, fans took to Twitter and Instagram, flooding the timelines with shocked reactions, theories, and heated debates, each post adding another layer to the growing frenzy. With cameras rolling and emotions teetering on the edge, it was clear that this wasn't just another storyline. This was the kind of explosive drama that could redefine the entire season. As you watch, prepare yourself for a roller coaster of secrets, betrayals, and shocking revelations that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra. What really happened behind the scenes? Who is telling the truth, and who might be playing a dangerous game that could change lives forever? Stay tuned, because the chaos is just beginning. The tension had barely settled from the initial revelation when Kirk Frost found himself cornered by Jasmine in his own home, her eyes blazing with a mixture of fear, anger, and something that looked dangerously close to desperation. "Kirk, we need to talk now," she demanded, her voice echoing through the hallway in a way that made it clear she was not here to negotiate. Kirk's jaw tightened, a bead of sweat forming on his temple, as he tried to process the gravity of the situation. He had expected drama, yes, but never a claim of pregnancy from two women simultaneously. Jasmine stepped closer, her hand shaking slightly as she placed it against her belly, the camera catching every subtle movement. "I'm pregnant, Kirk. This is your child, and I won't let you pretend this isn't happening," she said, her words slicing through the air like a knife. Kirk opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, Kendra's voice rang out from the other room, high and trembling, but with an unmistakable edge of accusation. "Don't you dare look at her like that, Kirk. I'm carrying your baby too. Do you even understand what this means?" The chaos that erupted was immediate and suffocating. Friends who had gathered for what was supposed to be a casual get-together suddenly found themselves trapped in a live version of a nightmare, the room vibrating with tension. Cameras, previously meant to capture laughter and lighthearted moments, now bore witness to a storm of emotions that seemed poised to swallow everyone present. The air was thick, heavy with disbelief, and even the most level-headed attendees could barely conceal their shock. Eyes darted from one woman to the other, then to Kirk, searching for signs, for clues, for any indication of truth. Social media had already begun buzzing, fans speculating, theorizing, and reacting with a mixture of horror and fascination. Every post seemed more outrageous than the last, painting a narrative that blurred the lines between reality and rumor. Jasmine stepped forward, her voice cracking as she confronted Kendra directly. "You knew about this, didn't you? How could you not tell him sooner? We're supposed to be adults, and yet here we are, trapped in your games." Kendra's expression shifted from hurt to defiance, her arms crossing tightly over her chest. "My game. Don't make this about me. I only found out a few weeks ago, and you think I wanted this? You think I would flaunt something like this in front of everyone?" The room seemed to shrink as the tension escalated, the air itself charged with anticipation and fear. Kirk's mind raced. He had always known that his life was under a microscope, that every move could be analyzed, criticized, or sensationalized, but this was unprecedented. The stakes were higher than he had ever faced before, and he knew that any misstep, any word spoken in anger or confusion, could fuel a fire that might never be contained. As the conversation spiraled, his friends tried to intervene, their voices soft but urgent. "Kirk, maybe we should all just calm down for a second," one whispered, hoping to act as a buffer between the two women. But neither Jasmine nor Kendra was willing to yield, and the words that followed cut through the room like lightning. "No, you don't get to calm me down," Jasmine shouted, her hands trembling as tears threatened to spill. "I'm scared, Kirk. I'm scared, and I need you to take responsibility." Kendra's voice was no less intense. "And what about me? Don't I deserve the same? How can you even look at her right now?" The emotional intensity was almost unbearable, Each accusation, each plea, each glance carrying the weight of a lifetime of choices and mistakes compressed into a single, explosive moment. Kirk's own voice shook when he finally spoke, a rare display of vulnerability. I don't know what to say. I can't believe this is happening like this. But words failed him as the room seemed to close in. The cameras capturing every nuance, every flicker of doubt, every blink of disbelief. Outside, the storm of social media intensified. Clips from the confrontation spread rapidly, each one edited to maximize shock value. Fans debated endlessly. Was this a stunt? Was it real? How could one man possibly be at the center of such chaos? The comments sections overflowed with speculation, conspiracy theories, and outrage, each new post layering additional tension onto an already volatile situation. Jasmine, her voice now softer but no less pointed, turned to Kirk. You have to make a choice, Kirk. You can't run from this. Lives are changing because of your decisions. Kendra, refusing to be overshadowed, added, and don't even think about ignoring me. I will make sure everyone knows the truth if you don't act. The room had transformed from a space of friendship and casual camaraderie into a battlefield of emotions, alliances, and unspoken threats. Every glance, every shift in posture, every exhale seemed laden with meaning. Kirk felt the weight of history pressing down on him, of past actions and present consequences colliding in a way that seemed impossible to navigate. In the midst of the chaos, an old friend of Kirk's, someone who had always been a voice of reason, stepped forward cautiously. Maybe we need to step outside for a moment, clear our heads. This is too much to process in here. But even as the suggestion was made, Jasmine shook her head vehemently. No, I'm not stepping outside. Not until he says something. Not until he admits what's happening. Kendra mirrored her resolve, and the air grew thicker still, as though the very walls were holding their breath in anticipation. Tension morphed into a surreal kind of performance. Each person acutely aware of the cameras, the viewers, and the social media storm that had already begun to take on a life of its own. Arguments erupted in fragmented bursts, overlapping and colliding. Voices rose and fell, each trying to assert a version of truth over the other. The family was left divided, watching from the sidelines, some choosing sides, others frozen in shock, unsure how to intervene without escalating the situation further. One aunt, unable to stay silent, whispered under her breath, "This is beyond anything I could have imagined." Both of them, both claiming the same man at the same time. It's madness. Kirk felt a sudden surge of panic. How could he possibly address the situation without making it worse? Each word, each gesture was being scrutinized, recorded, and broadcast to a world eager for scandal. And just as he opened his mouth again, the drama took another twist. Jasmine's phone buzzed, and she glanced at the screen with wide eyes. "Wait, you need to see this," she said, her tone a mixture of fear and triumph. She held the phone out, revealing a message that caused Kendra to flinch. A message that seemed to confirm something neither of them expected. "This can't be real," Kendra muttered, her hand covering her mouth. The revelation threw the room into further chaos, emotions swinging wildly from disbelief to anger to relief, and then back to shock. The room was now a whirlwind of accusations, confessions, and denials, each one amplifying the tension that already threatened to break apart the fragile threads holding the night together. Fans watching from afar were glued to every moment, every exchange, every dramatic pause. Social media exploded as clips from the confrontation went viral, trending hashtags forming within minutes. Analysts and commentators dissected every syllable, trying to make sense of the unfolding chaos. In the middle of all this, Kirk realized that there was no simple resolution, no apology, no explanation, no denial could undo what had been set into motion. Lives had already been affected, relationships strained, reputations challenged, and the world was watching. Yet, amid the chaos, there were fleeting moments of vulnerability. Kirk's voice, when it finally emerged above the noise, carried an honesty that was rarely seen. I need time. I need to think. This is more than I ever imagined, and I want to do the right thing. Please, just give me a moment to breathe." Jasmine's tears mingled with frustration as she nodded, though her eyes remained filled with unspoken demands. Kendra, not yet ready to yield, stared at him, a silent reminder that patience was running thin. The drama was far from over, and the storm that had erupted showed no signs of abating. Outside, fans continued to debate, speculate, and express outrage. Inside, every breath, every movement, every word hung heavy with consequence. In that room, reality had transformed into a stage, with Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra as the unwilling protagonists of a story that seemed almost too sensational to believe. The weight of expectations, the pressure of scrutiny, and the intensity of personal stakes coalesced into a moment of unprecedented chaos, one that would be dissected, replayed, and remembered by viewers for years to come. As the night wore on, it became clear that nothing would ever be the same. Alliances were shifting, emotions frayed, and the line between truth and deception blurred into a haze of suspicion and drama. Every participant in this unfolding saga understood that the next word spoken, the next action taken, could tip the balance irrevocably, and that the eyes of the world were watching, waiting, and ready to react. And in that charged atmosphere, with tension crackling like electricity, the story of Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra had only just begun, promising twists, heartbreak, and revelations that no one, least of all the fans, would see coming. The night stretched on, and the tension in the room only thickened, each passing moment adding fuel to the fire that had already engulfed everyone present. Kirk sat on the edge of the sofa, his head in his hands, the weight of the situation pressing down like a physical force. Jasmine paced back and forth, her high heels clicking sharply against the floor, each step a drumbeat of anxiety and frustration. "You don't get it, Kirk?" she shouted suddenly, spinning to face him. "This isn't just about you. This is about me, about my future, about our child." Her words hung in the air, heavy with raw emotion, while Kendra, standing near the kitchen counter, crossed her arms and exhaled sharply. "And what about me?" she demanded. "Do I not count? I'm scared too, Kirk. You think this is easy for me?" The sheer force of her voice reverberated through the room, rattling picture frames and sending a nearby lamp teetering dangerously on the edge of a table. Friends and family members who had initially tried to mediate now looked like spectators at a storm, their attempts to calm the situation ineffective against the torrent of emotion cascading from both women. Each argument seemed to spark another, each accusation another volley in a battle where there were no winners, only victims of circumstance and secrecy. Kirk finally lifted his head, his eyes bloodshot from exhaustion and stress. I didn't expect this," he admitted, his voice trembling. "I knew things were complicated, but this is more than I can handle right now." Jasmine's hands flew to her face, and she sank into a chair, sobs racking her body. "More than you can handle? Do you even realize what we're talking about? 2 lives, 2 babies, and you're telling me you're overwhelmed." Kendra's voice rose again, sharper this time. "Overwhelmed? We're not asking for a handout, Kirk. We're asking for acknowledgement, for honesty, for you to face the reality you created." The room seemed to close in on him, every side pressing, every voice a reminder of the impossible position he had been thrust into. Outside, the social media storm raged on. Clips of Jasmine pacing, of Kendra's incredulous stares, and of Kirk's visible panic circulated endlessly, each share and comment amplifying the pressure. Fans debated who was telling the truth, who might be exaggerating, and who would ultimately come out on top in this high-stakes drama. The public's fascination only added to the intensity inside the house. As the evening continued, hidden tensions that had been simmering for years began to surface. Long-forgotten grudges, jealousies, and suspicions emerged, turning personal histories into explosive accusations. "I can't believe this," whispered one friend, shaking their head. "All this time, and now it's erupting like this. It's unreal." The words barely registered, as Kirk suddenly stood, his body rigid, his voice cutting through the cacophony. "Enough," he shouted. "I can't keep going like this. We need to talk, all of us, calmly, before someone says something they'll regret." But calm was elusive. Jasmine's tears had subsided slightly, replaced by a hard edge in her voice. "Calm. There's nothing calm about this. Nothing has been calm since I found out." Kendra's nostrils flared, her arms still crossed, but her stance shifting subtly. A sign that she, too, was wrestling with the conflict raging inside her. "We need answers, Kirk. Don't you see that? We can't just pretend everything is fine," she said, her tone a mixture of plea and challenge. Kirk took a deep breath, trying to gather his thoughts. "I want to do the right thing," he admitted, "but I need time. I need to figure out how to handle this responsibly." Jasmine leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "Time? Do you know what time means right now? It means uncertainty. It means fear. It means the possibility that everything we've built could be destroyed if you don't act." Kendra echoed the sentiment, her voice steady but intense. "And every second you hesitate, Kirk, the situation grows more complicated. You can't just freeze while the world watches." The tension became almost unbearable, the room alive with the collision of raw emotions. Every word, every glance, every subtle gesture carried weight. threatening to tip the delicate balance that held the group together. In a sudden twist, Kirk's phone buzzed, drawing everyone's attention. A message notification from an unknown number appeared on the screen. "It's from someone saying they know the truth about both pregnancies," Kirk murmured, his hands shaking as he opened it. Jasmine and Kendra leaned in, eyes wide, breath held. The message read, "Meet me at the studio. Come alone. I have information that will clarify everything. This cannot be shared over text." The room erupted once again, each reaction different but equally intense. Jasmine's hands flew to her mouth. "Are you serious? Who could possibly know the truth?" Kendra's face hardened. "This could be the proof we need, or it could be a trap. Either way, we can't ignore it." Kirk ran a hand through his hair, the pressure mounting to an almost unbearable level. "I don't know what to do," he admitted. "If I go, one of you might stay behind. And then what happens if this isn't what it seems?" Jasmine's voice cracked with urgency. "Then we risk everything if you don't go. Don't you understand? This could be the only chance to settle this once and for all." Kendra's stare softened slightly, though the tension in her body remained. "We're in this together, Kirk. Whoever knows the truth is holding our future in their hands. We can't ignore that." The decision loomed over him like a storm cloud, heavy and suffocating. Friends exchanged worried glances, some urging caution, others silently rooting for Kirk to find clarity. Outside, the storm of fan speculation had grown even more intense. Trending topics appearing across social media platforms. Hashtags multiplying as viewers tried to keep up with the rapidly evolving narrative. The house itself seemed to hum with anxiety, each room vibrating with tension, each step echoing louder than usual as everyone waited for the next move. Kirk finally made his choice, albeit reluctantly. "I'll go," he said, his voice steady but quiet. "I have to know the truth. I need to face this head-on. But one of you will come with me. No more waiting. No more secrets." Jasmine and Kendra exchanged a brief look, an unspoken agreement passing between them. In a rare moment of unity, Kendra spoke first. "Then I'll go," she said. Jasmine's hand shot up, stopping her. "No, I need to go. This is my life. Kirk, I can't let you do this alone." Kirk's chest tightened. Both women were insistent, both determined, and the impossible decision lay squarely on him. The intensity of the room was mirrored by the social media frenzy, with fans dissecting every frame, every glance, every syllable. The anticipation was palpable, the stakes impossibly high, and the world seemed to hold its collective breath. Ultimately, Kirk decided on a compromise that surprised everyone. He would go with both women, but under the strict condition that no arguments would be allowed en route. The car ride was tense, silence punctuated by the occasional sharp intake of breath, the occasional muttered warning to remain calm. Cameras off, fans speculating, and the looming presence of the unknown weighed on all three, a shared tension that neither could ignore. As they arrived at the studio, the doors swung open, and a figure emerged from the shadows, a person whose identity would shake the very foundation of everything they believed. The air grew electric, charged with anticipation and fear, as the stage was set for a revelation that could either destroy them all or finally provide the clarity they so desperately needed. Emotions were raw, alliances tenuous, and every heartbeat carried the promise of upheaval. The moment had arrived where secrets would no longer remain hidden, and the truth, in all its explosive complexity, would finally demand attention. And in that charged electric room, with the eyes of the world still metaphorically watching, Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra braced themselves for a revelation that would change the course of their lives forever. The studio lights glared down, harsh and unyielding, as Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra stepped inside. The air was thick with anticipation, tension practically visible in the way each of them shifted their weight and avoided direct eye contact with one another. Every step echoed ominously against the polished floor, each sound amplified by the weight of expectation. The figure who had summoned them stood in the corner, shrouded in shadow, a small envelope clutched in their hand. "Thank you for coming," the stranger said, voice calm but carrying an edge that suggested control. "Inside this envelope is information that will clarify everything. But be warned, once you know the truth, there's no turning back." Jasmine's hands trembled slightly as she reached out, her nails clicking against the envelope. "We need to see this. Now," she demanded, urgency cutting through her voice. Kendra leaned forward as well, a mix of fear and determination in her eyes. "Yes, no more games. Show us the truth." The envelope was opened carefully, and the contents revealed a series of documents and images, each more shocking than the last. DNA test results, screenshots of secret messages, and photographic evidence painted a picture that no one could have anticipated. Kirk's eyes widened as he scanned the pages. This can't be real, he murmured, disbelief coloring his tone. Jasmine leaned closer, reading over his shoulder, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. It has to be, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm of emotions raging inside her. Kendra's lips pressed into a thin line, her jaw tight, as she tried to process the revelation. I don't know what to say, she admitted, her voice shaky but determined. This changes everything. The stranger in the shadows watched silently, knowing the power of what had just been revealed. It's real, they said finally, voice slicing through the tension. And now you must decide how to move forward. Every choice you make will have consequences, and the world is watching. The room seemed to contract, the walls pressing in as the weight of reality settled over them. Jasmine's emotions erupted first, a mixture of relief and lingering fear washing over her. So, it's true. I really am pregnant. Kirk, do you understand what this means? This changes everything about our lives. Kendra's voice broke through, equally intense. And me. Kirk, I can't even begin to explain how complicated this is. But it's real for me too. We can't ignore it anymore. The collision of emotions created an almost unbearable intensity, the air charged with anxiety, hope, and fear. Kirk ran a hand through his hair, trying to steady himself. I need to think, he admitted. I need to figure out how to navigate this responsibly, without hurting either of you or the children involved. Jasmine's tears streamed freely, but her resolve was clear. We need you to act, Kirk. Waiting isn't an option anymore. Decisions have to be made, boundaries set, and truths faced. Kendra nodded, her posture rigid but her voice steady. We're in this together, Kirk, whether you like it or not. There's no going back. We need to confront this head. Friends who had accompanied them looked on, some frozen by the intensity of the moment, others whispering quietly to one another, trying to process the magnitude of what had just been revealed. Social media outside the studio exploded further. Clips of the confrontation leaked almost immediately, fans dissecting every reaction, every subtle shift in expression. The narrative had taken on a life of its own, spiraling faster than anyone could control. Kirk's phone buzzed incessantly, notifications flooding in from all directions, family, fans, media outlets. Each ping was a reminder that the world was watching, analyzing, and judging every action and reaction. Jasmine, unable to contain herself, paced back and forth, her emotions oscillating between hope and despair. Kirk, look at me, she shouted, stopping suddenly in front of him. We can't waste any more time. This is about our children, our futures. Don't you understand that? Kendra's voice was just as urgent. He does, Jasmine, but he's human, he's scared. So are we, but we have to face this. Together. Kirk took a deep breath, trying to absorb the gravity of their words. I know, he said quietly. And I promise, I won't let either of you down. I'll find a way to make this right. For both of you, for the babies. The stranger who had brought them there finally spoke again, stepping into the light, revealing themselves fully. Now that the truth is out, you have choices to make. Every path has consequences. Every decision will be scrutinized, and the eyes of the world will follow you every step of the way. The three of them exchanged glances, a mixture of fear, determination, and fragile hope passing between them. Jasmine's voice softened, tinged with vulnerability. I don't want to fight Kirk. I just want clarity, honesty, and a future where our child knows their father loves them. Kendra's expression mirrored the sentiment. And I want the same. We're not enemies. Here we're connected by something far bigger than us, and it's time to act like it. The tension began to shift subtly, the storm inside the room giving way to tentative cooperation. Kirk, still overwhelmed, nodded slowly. We'll face this together. I'll do everything I can to support both of you, to be a father to our children, and to navigate this mess responsibly. Jasmine's tears softened into a shaky smile, while Kendra allowed herself a small nod of relief. The weight of uncertainty had not disappeared, but for the first time since the night had begun, there was a glimmer of hope. Outside, fans continued to speculate, share, and react, the story gaining momentum at an unprecedented pace. Analysts debated motives, timelines, and implications, while hashtags trended worldwide. Back inside the studio, the trio gathered around the envelope one last time, taking in the information that had forever altered the trajectory of their lives. This is it, Kirk said quietly. The truth is out. Now, we have to figure out how to live with it, and how to protect the people we love. Jasmine and Kendra exchanged a look of understanding, an unspoken agreement that, despite the chaos, they would face the future together. navigating the stormy waters of parenthood, relationships, and public scrutiny as a united front. As the cameras faded to black and the room's tension slowly ebbed, the story of Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra remained a whirlwind of emotion, anticipation, and drama. A narrative that fans and observers would dissect, debate, and remember for years to come. And yet, even amid the chaos, there was a quiet resolve, a determination to confront the consequences, embrace the unexpected, and ultimately find a path forward through one of the most sensational and emotionally charged nights in LHHATL history. The following morning, the fallout from the studio revelation began to ripple outward in ways none of them could have anticipated. Social media was ablaze with fan reactions, each clip, screenshot, and commentary dissected to the last detail. Hashtags like #KirkDrama, #Jasmine and Kendra, and #LHHATL scandal were trending worldwide, while theories about motives, timelines, and secret alliances ran rampant. Messages poured in from friends, family, and even strangers, all attempting to piece together the narrative in real time. Kirk woke early, the weight of the night pressing heavily on him. The room spinning with a mixture of anxiety, guilt, and apprehension. He could still see Jasmine's tear-streaked face and Kendra's determined glare in his mind. Images burned into his memory. His phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, texts from concerned friends, missed calls from family members, and relentless updates from fans and the media. It was impossible to ignore the magnitude of what had unfolded. Jasmine, meanwhile, was pacing her living room, replaying every word, every gesture from the night before. "I can't believe this is happening," she whispered to herself, the mixture of fear and hope in her voice palpable. "We're actually going to have to live with this truth. Kirk is going to have to step up." Her phone rang, and she snatched it up immediately. It was a close friend, voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and concern. "Girl, you know the world saw that, right? Every moment. People are losing their minds. How are you holding up?" Jasmine's laugh was shaky, almost disbelieving. "I don't know. I'm scared, but I have to stay strong. This is bigger than me, bigger than Kirk, bigger than anyone could have imagined." Kendra, on the other side of town, was similarly overwhelmed. She had spent the night awake, going over every possible scenario, every potential reaction from Kirk, from Jasmine, from the public. "This can't be easy for anyone," she murmured, staring at the ceiling. "But we have to face it. There's no other way." The family dynamic, already fragile, was now stretched to breaking point. Friends and relatives, who had tried to stay neutral, were now openly taking sides, offering advice, judgment, or simply watching from the sidelines. "You've got to be careful, Kendra," one family member warned. "The media is merciless. Every word you speak, every move you make, it's being recorded, analyzed, and judged. You can't afford a misstep." Kendra's response was firm, though her voice betrayed the tension she felt. "I know, but I can't just sit back and let things spiral. I have to act responsibly for myself, for Kirk, for the baby." Across town, Kirk wrestled with his own internal chaos. How could he navigate the delicate balance of honesty, responsibility, and public scrutiny? Every decision seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 consequences. The thought of letting either woman down, or of failing as a father, gnawed at him relentlessly. He recalled the confrontation at the studio, the envelope, and the stark reality laid bare before him. "This isn't just about me anymore," he whispered to himself. "It's about them. It's about the babies. It's about doing what's right, no matter how hard it is." Calls from producers and media representatives began to flood in, eager to capture interviews, statements, or reactions. Each ring, each message, intensified the pressure, creating a whirlwind of external expectations layered atop the already overwhelming personal drama. Jasmine decided she couldn't wait any longer. She called Kirk, her voice both urgent and fragile. "We need to meet Kirk face to face. We need to discuss everything, the truth, the consequences, our next steps. This can't wait." Kendra, simultaneously making the same call, mirrored the sentiment. "It's time to confront this directly," she said. "We can't continue with uncertainty hanging over us. Whatever happens, it happens together, but we need clarity now." Kirk, caught between the two, felt the immense weight of responsibility pressed down. He arranged a neutral meeting space, a private setting away from cameras, social media, and prying eyes. The anticipation as he arrived was palpable. Jasmine and Kendra were already there, their expressions a mixture of tension, fear, and determination. The air was charged, thick with the residue of unresolved conflict, unspoken questions, and the pressure of public scrutiny. Kirk began cautiously, his voice low but steady. I know last night was chaotic, overwhelming. I want to make sure we address this responsibly. No distractions, no games, just honesty. Jasmine's eyes softened slightly, though the intensity of her emotions remained. I just want to understand everything. Kirk, I need to know where we stand, how we move forward. Kendra nodded in agreement. We all deserve clarity. No more secrets, no more assumptions. This is bigger than any personal tension we've had. The discussion that followed was raw, emotional, and at times painful. Long-held fears and doubts were voiced, accusations were made and countered, and the trio navigated the treacherous waters of trust, responsibility, and potential betrayal. Every statement carried enormous weight, every silence pregnant with meaning. At one point, Jasmine's voice broke through, sharp and desperate. Do you even realize what this means for me? For my life? For our child? Kirk swallowed hard, acknowledging the magnitude. I do. I understand more than you know. That's why I'm committed to facing this head-on, responsibly, and truthfully. Kendra's voice added another layer of urgency. And I deserve the same. Kirk, whatever happens, I need honesty. I need you to be present, to acknowledge what's happening and act with integrity. Hours passed in intense discussion. Emotions fluctuated between anger, fear, hope, and cautious optimism. The intensity was punctuated by moments of silence, where each individual absorbed the weight of reality, considering not only their personal stakes but the implications of their choices on the children involved, their relationships, and the public eye. Outside, the narrative continued to unfold in real time. Fans were glued to every update, theorizing, reacting, and debating. Every social media post, every leaked photo, every clip from previous confrontations added layers to the ongoing saga. Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra were fully aware that their decisions were under a microscope. But the focus on honesty, responsibility, and the future gradually began to temper the chaos. As the evening approached, tentative agreements were made regarding how to proceed, communication protocols, support structures, and plans for navigating the pregnancies with integrity. The emotional landscape remained complex, but the first steps toward resolution had been taken. The weight of public scrutiny, personal accountability, and emotional turbulence would not dissipate overnight, but a fragile equilibrium had emerged. In the quiet moments that followed, the trio acknowledged the reality. Life would never be the same, but together, they could confront the challenges ahead. And as the night descended, the three left the meeting with a renewed, if cautious, sense of purpose, aware that while the storm was far from over, they had taken a critical step toward clarity, responsibility, and a path forward that recognized the gravity of their shared circumstances. The following days unfolded like a high-stakes thriller, each hour layered with tension, emotion, and the relentless pressure of public scrutiny. Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra attempted to navigate their new reality. But even with agreements in place, the emotional turbulence refused to subside. The constant buzz of notifications, messages, and media coverage acted as a relentless reminder that their lives were now intertwined, not only with each other but with a worldwide audience eager to witness every moment of their drama. Jasmine, in particular, felt the strain acutely. She spent hours replaying the events at the studio in her mind, questioning every word spoken, every glance exchanged. I just want to protect my baby, she confided to a close friend, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with exhaustion. Everything else can wait, but I can't let this get out of control. Kendra, too, grappled with similar fears. She maintained a stoic exterior, but behind closed doors, her thoughts raced incessantly. I have to trust Kirk, she admitted to herself, but how can I, when everything feels so unstable? Kirk was caught in the middle, the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on him. Each decision carried enormous consequences. Each word spoken or left unspoken had the potential to inflame tensions further. He tried to mediate, to provide reassurance, to maintain balance. But the emotional and logistical complexity of the situation often left him paralyzed with indecision. One afternoon, the trio gathered at a neutral location to attempt a joint discussion, hoping that face-to-face communication could alleviate some of the mounting stress. The air was taut with anticipation. Every movement, every glance, every word measured and fraught with significance. Kirk began, his voice low and deliberate. I know it's been overwhelming, all of this, but I need us to be honest and transparent moving forward. We owe that to ourselves, to the babies, and to everyone watching. Jasmine nodded, though her hands fidgeted nervously. I'm trying, Kirk. I really am. But sometimes it feels like no matter what I do, it's not enough. I need to know that you're fully present, that you're taking this seriously. Kendra added, her voice calm but firm. "We both need that. And we need a plan, a clear path forward. Uncertainty is dangerous right now. We need structure, clarity, and mutual support." The conversation stretched for hours, each exchange digging deeper into unresolved fears, lingering resentments, and the high stakes of impending parenthood. At one point, Jasmine's frustration boiled over. "Do you even realize what it's like to carry a child in the middle of all this chaos?" she demanded, voice cracking with emotion. Kirk's response was measured but earnest. "I understand more than you think. I may not be able to experience it physically, but I feel the weight of every responsibility, every expectation. I want to be the father you both deserve." Kendra's eyes softened slightly, a mixture of gratitude and lingering skepticism in her gaze. "Actions speak louder than words, Kirk. We need to see that commitment, not just hear it." The delicate balance of emotions, responsibilities, and external pressures created a tension that was almost tangible. Even the most mundane conversations were fraught with potential triggers. Each word carefully considered, each gesture scrutinized. Social media, as always, provided a constant backdrop of opinion, speculation, and judgment. Fans dissected every clip, every post, every subtle expression, creating a narrative that often bore little resemblance to reality. The pressure was relentless, the scrutiny unyielding, yet within this chaos, moments of connection and understanding began to emerge. Jasmine and Kendra, while still navigating their own emotional landscapes, started to find common ground. Shared experiences, mutual fears, and the overarching responsibility of impending motherhood created a tenuous but growing sense of solidarity. Kirk, too, began to find his footing. While the situation remained incredibly complex, he started to actively engage in planning, communication, and support, attempting to provide stability in the midst of a storm. Family and close friends, initially paralyzed by the spectacle, slowly became sources of counsel and support, offering perspectives, advice, and emotional grounding. The trio learned to navigate the delicate balance of privacy and public scrutiny, attempting to shield the most vulnerable from the relentless glare of the spotlight. Yet, despite these small victories, the reality remained stark. The story was far from over. Unpredictable twists, new revelations, and the omnipresent eyes of the world ensured that no one could ever truly relax. Every choice carried weight, every decision had consequences, and every interaction risked reigniting tensions that had been carefully managed but never fully resolved. One evening, a late-night phone call brought fresh turbulence. A family member, concerned about the narrative being spun online, shared potentially explosive information in an old message thread, previously unknown to Jasmine and Kendra. That hinted at prior communication between Kirk and a third party. The revelation reignited old fears, stirring doubts and anxieties that had seemed temporarily settled. Jasmine's eyes widened, panic flickering across her features. "What does this mean? Was there something else happening? How could we not know?" Kendra's lips pressed into a thin line, the familiar surge of suspicion and fear rising once again. "We need to see it. We can't just let this sit in the shadows." Kirk, feeling the familiar surge of pressure, exhaled deeply. "We'll deal with it," he said quietly, trying to steady his voice. "But we need to stay calm. Reacting in panic won't help anyone." The next day the trio confronted the information, each reaction layering tension, surprise, and emotional volatility onto the already complex situation. While some truths were clarified, new questions arose, each one demanding careful navigation, negotiation, and emotional resilience. Through it all, one theme remained constant. The stakes were higher than ever, the consequences more profound, and the public gaze more relentless. The trio continued to navigate the labyrinth of relationships, responsibilities, and expectations, seeking clarity while managing the turbulence that defined every interaction. Each day brought new challenges, moments of emotional intensity, and opportunities for growth, reflection, and reconciliation. The story of Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra had evolved into something far beyond initial scandal or complex narrative of human vulnerability, resilience, and the messy, beautiful, and unpredictable nature of life under scrutiny. And as the days unfolded, it became clear that while chaos might be ever present, so too was the potential for understanding, connection, and the forging of a path forward amid the drama that had consumed them all. The tension did not ease as the weeks passed. If anything, it intensified, as each day brought new revelations, fresh emotions, and the unrelenting gaze of the public. Kirk found himself trapped between his desire to act responsibly and the complex web of expectations from both women, their families, and an audience that seemed to grow more invested with every update. Jasmine's energy fluctuated wildly between determination, anxiety, and moments of fleeting joy as she navigated her pregnancy under the extraordinary circumstances. "I just want to feel normal," she confided to a close friend during a rare quiet moment, her voice tinged with exhaustion. "But there's no normal anymore. Everything is under a microscope, and I can't escape it." Kendra, meanwhile, maintained her composure in public, but private conversations revealed the same inner turmoil. She wrestled constantly with feelings of mistrust, uncertainty, and a desperate desire for stability. "I need him to show me, not tell me," she admitted during a late-night call with her confidant. "Words aren't enough. I need actions. I need consistency." Kirk, carrying the weight of the dual pregnancies and the responsibilities therein, found himself oscillating between moments of clarity and bouts of paralyzing doubt. Each conversation, each decision, each interaction carried the potential to ignite conflict or foster reconciliation. He meticulously planned discussions, carefully measured statements, and sought advice from friends and professionals alike, striving to maintain balance while the world watched. One evening, a group meeting was arranged, bringing Jasmine, Kendra, Kirk, and a small circle of trusted advisors together to outline a path forward. The atmosphere was tense, every word deliberate, every pause pregnant with meaning. "We need structure," Kirk began, voice firm but cautious. "We have to agree on how to communicate, how to share information, and how to manage expectations, ours and everyone else's." Jasmine nodded, though the tension in her shoulders betrayed her stress. "I just want honesty," she said. "I need to know that what we're building is real, and that no one is keeping secrets." Kendra added, her tone steady but insistent. "We all need that. The babies, Kirk and each of us. Transparency is the only way we can survive this intact." Plans were drafted, responsibilities divided, and communication protocols established, but the peace was fragile. Even the smallest miscommunication threatened to reignite conflicts long thought contained. Social media, as always, amplified every nuance. Fans dissected posts, comments, and images, speculating wildly about interactions, intentions, and alliances. The scrutiny was relentless, and every moment of vulnerability or misstep risked magnifying the chaos. Despite these pressures, small victories emerged. Moments of cooperation between Jasmine and Kendra became more frequent, subtle gestures of solidarity providing glimpses of possible reconciliation. Kirk's consistent engagement, though imperfect, fostered tentative trust, slowly rebuilding confidence in his commitment to both women and their children. Yet, just as stability seemed possible, a new revelation threatened to unravel the delicate balance. A former acquaintance of Kirk's reached out with information that suggested past indiscretions might resurface, casting shadows over the present situation. The news ignited fresh waves of suspicion and anxiety. Jasmine's voice trembled with frustration and fear. "How could this happen again? Haven't we done enough to keep things calm?" Kendra's expression hardened. "We need to see this for ourselves. If there's truth to it, we have to confront it now, not let it fester." Kirk, feeling the familiar pressure of responsibility and scrutiny, exhaled heavily. "We'll face it together," he promised. "No running, no hiding. We deal with this openly, honestly, and decisively." The meeting that followed was emotionally charged, with accusations, explanations, and confrontations layered atop the previous drama. Every participant had to navigate a labyrinth of emotions, past grievances, and the ever-present gaze of the public. Even minor revelations carried enormous weight, threatening to destabilize the fragile progress achieved in the preceding weeks. As the night wore on, emotions oscillated between anger, fear, relief, and cautious optimism. Kirk demonstrated renewed commitment, taking responsibility and outlining concrete steps for resolution and forward movement. Jasmine and Kendra, though still wary, acknowledged the effort, offering small gestures of trust and cooperation that signaled a tentative, yet meaningful, path forward. Outside the private sphere, the drama continued to unfold publicly. Social media buzzed with theories, reactions, and debates. Clips, screenshots, and insider commentary circulated rapidly, each new development further intensifying public interest. Fans speculated endlessly on the motives, intentions, and outcomes, while Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra focused inward, striving to manage their lives amidst the extraordinary attention. Over time, a rhythm began to emerge. Structured communication, careful planning, and a shared focus on the well-being of the children fostered a fragile but growing sense of stability. Small conflicts remained inevitable, but the trio began to navigate them with greater patience and mutual understanding. Even amid uncertainty, there was a growing sense of solidarity and determination. Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra discovered that despite the chaos, they could carve out moments of clarity and calm. Emotional vulnerability, when expressed with honesty and mutual respect, became a tool for connection rather than conflict. Though the world continued to scrutinize, the trio began to reclaim agency over their narrative, making deliberate choices that reflected responsibility, care, and a focus on the future. And so, life continued in this complex balance, a mixture of high-stakes drama, personal growth, and evolving relationships. The past could not be undone, but the present offered a path forward, one of honesty, accountability, and the shared responsibility of impending parenthood. Each day, each decision, and each interaction carried weight, but amid the chaos, there was a quiet, resilient determination to face whatever came next with courage, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to the children at the heart of the storm. The next few weeks brought an almost unbearable intensity to Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra's lives, as the reality of their situation settled into something that was simultaneously familiar and terrifying. Every day seemed to bring a new challenge, a new revelation, or an unforeseen consequence of the choices they had made or had yet to make. Even mundane actions took on a heightened significance. Each glance, each text message, each social media post capable of sending ripples through their already fragile network of trust. Jasmine, attempting to balance her personal life with the relentless public attention, found herself oscillating between moments of optimism and intense anxiety. She tried to cultivate normalcy, taking short walks, attending prenatal appointments, and even enjoying occasional moments of laughter with close friends. Yet, even in these moments, the shadow of uncertainty loomed large. "I just want to feel like a normal expectant mother," she confided during a rare phone call with a confidant. "But the world won't let me. Every smile, every word, every decision is judged. And I can't protect myself or my baby from that." Kendra, meanwhile, continued to navigate the tightrope of public perception and personal emotion with remarkable composure. Outwardly calm and composed, she meticulously managed her communications, carefully crafting posts, statements, and responses to ensure clarity while minimizing conflict. But beneath the surface, the pressure weighed heavily. "It's exhausting," she admitted during a private conversation with a close friend. "Every interaction is calculated. Every decision carries consequence, and the fear of misstep is constant. Yet, I have to stay strong, not just for me, but for my child, for Kirk, and for Jasmine." Kirk, carrying the dual weight of responsibility, personal accountability, and public scrutiny, felt the emotional strain more acutely than anyone. The intensity of the past weeks had left him physically and mentally exhausted, yet he remained determined to navigate the tumult with honesty, integrity, and unwavering focus on the children involved. He meticulously planned interactions, monitored social media, consulted trusted advisors, and ensured that every step he took was measured and deliberate. One afternoon, the trio convened at a neutral location to discuss logistics, communication strategies, and contingency plans. The atmosphere was tense yet purposeful, as each person sought clarity while maintaining emotional composure. Kirk began, voice calm but deliberate. "We need to establish a plan that prioritizes transparency, accountability, and mutual support. Our choices affect not only ourselves, but the children, our families, and even the public narrative." Jasmine nodded, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her phone. "I agree, but we also need to set boundaries, what we share publicly, what we keep private, and how we manage the constant attention. I can't live under a microscope forever." Kendra's tone was measured, but insistent. "Boundaries are essential. We need structure. And we need consistency, not just for the public, but for each other and, most importantly, for the children." The discussion evolved into a detailed plan, outlining responsibilities, communication protocols, and strategies for navigating both the public eye and private challenges. Each participant contributed, sharing insights, fears, and proposed solutions, creating a collaborative framework designed to maintain stability amid chaos. Yet, even as plans were formalized, the unpredictable nature of life ensured that no stability was permanent. Late one evening, a new twist emerged. A previously unknown relative reached out, claiming insider knowledge that could potentially disrupt the delicate balance the trio had established. Jasmine's immediate reaction was a mixture of anxiety and determination. "We can't ignore this," she asserted. "If there's truth to it, we need to face it head-on. No hiding, no delaying." Kendra agreed, her voice calm but firm. "We have to confront it directly. Any delay only prolongs uncertainty and increases potential conflict." Kirk, feeling the familiar surge of pressure, exhaled deeply. "We'll handle it together, calmly, rationally, and transparently. Panic solves nothing." The meeting that followed was intense. Information was revealed, dissected, and analyzed. Each revelation demanding careful consideration, response, and, in some cases, immediate action. Emotions ran high: fear, anger, relief, and cautious optimism, all intermingled in a delicate dance. As each participant navigated both personal stakes and the implications for their shared responsibilities, as days turned into nights, and nights into early mornings, the trio found themselves gradually establishing a rhythm. Communication improved, cooperation increased, and moments of shared understanding became more frequent. The process was not without setbacks: miscommunications, lingering fears, and unpredictable external pressures remained, but a foundational framework for stability and mutual support began to solidify. Public attention continued unabated. Social media platforms remained a constant, almost omnipresent force, amplifying even minor developments into global narratives. Every carefully worded post, every candid photograph, every interaction was scrutinized, debated, and disseminated across fan networks. Fans speculated endlessly, dissecting motives, predicting outcomes, and engaging in fervent discussions that heightened both pressure and visibility. The trio, acutely aware of this constant scrutiny, developed strategies to manage public perception while maintaining personal integrity. Scheduled updates, coordinated statements, and deliberate transparency allowed them to assert some control over the narrative. Even as the external chaos persisted, small victories emerged, providing tangible evidence that progress, however incremental, was possible. Moments of collaboration between Jasmine and Kendra increased, fostering a fragile but genuine solidarity. Kirk's consistent engagement, though imperfect, demonstrated a growing commitment to accountability and responsibility, further strengthening trust. However, as stability grew, new challenges emerged. A previously undisclosed communication surfaced, suggesting past entanglements or misunderstandings that reignited tension and suspicion. The revelation demanded immediate attention, forcing the trio to navigate a complex web of emotion, responsibility, and public perception once more. Jasmine, visibly anxious but resolute, asserted, "We need to address this now. Waiting only magnifies uncertainty and fear." Kendra's expression was measured, though her tone conveyed urgency. "We need clarity, complete transparency, no assumptions, no delays." Kirk, feeling the familiar weight of responsibility, nodded. "We face it together, honestly and directly. That's the only way forward." The confrontation that followed was charged with emotion, yet underscored by a commitment to honesty, responsibility, and mutual understanding. Accusations were made, clarifications offered, and resolutions reached, creating a renewed sense of cautious stability. The process was not without difficulty. Emotions remained volatile, external pressures unrelenting, and the stakes higher than ever. Yet, incremental progress, honest dialogue, and shared commitment allowed the trio to navigate the turbulence with greater resilience. Over the next several weeks, the trio implemented the strategies discussed: structured communication, clearly defined boundaries, and proactive engagement with both family and public audiences. Even amid continued scrutiny and occasional conflicts, they demonstrated growing capability to manage the complex interplay of personal, familial, and public demands. Each decision, each conversation, each interaction contributed to the development of a framework that balanced responsibility, accountability, and emotional well-being. Small successes reinforced trust and cooperation, fostering a sense of progress despite the ongoing intensity of circumstances. Through this period, the trio's narrative evolved beyond the initial scandal, becoming a story of resilience, negotiation, and adaptation under extraordinary pressure. Even as new challenges emerged, the foundational commitment to honesty, shared responsibility, and protection of the children provided a compass to navigate the tumult. And as each day passed, the fragile equilibrium, though never entirely secure, offered evidence that even in the most extraordinary circumstances, progress, understanding, and connection remained possible. Kirk, Jasmine and Kendra moved forward with determination, navigating the shifting landscape of emotion, responsibility, and public scrutiny with cautious optimism, ready to face the next chapter in their extraordinary journey together. The weeks that followed were a relentless mix of heightened emotion, logistical coordination, and the constant awareness of public scrutiny. Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra found themselves navigating an increasingly complex web of responsibilities that extended far beyond their personal lives. Every conversation, every interaction, and every decision carried a weight that could not be ignored. Jasmine, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos, often found herself retreating to quiet moments alone, reflecting on how drastically her life had changed in such a short time. "It's overwhelming," she admitted to a close friend one evening, voice tinged with both exhaustion and determination. "I never imagined my life would be under this much pressure, but I have to stay strong for my child, for myself, and even for Kirk, despite everything." Kendra, simultaneously managing her own anxieties, displayed a mixture of resolve and vigilance. She kept meticulous records of conversations, schedules, and commitments, ensuring that nothing would slip through the cracks. "I can't afford to rely solely on trust," she confided to a confidant. "I need structure, clarity, and a system that ensures everyone knows where they stand and, more importantly, that the children are protected." Kirk, bearing the dual responsibility for both pregnancies, wrestled with an emotional weight that at times seemed almost impossible to carry. He spent long nights strategizing, reviewing commitments, and reaching out to advisors, trying to balance fairness, transparency, and practical logistics. "I need to be the rock here," he whispered to himself one late night, staring at the ceiling. "They're depending on me, and I can't let fear or hesitation dictate my actions." One particularly tense afternoon, the trio convened at a neutral location to address unresolved concerns and ensure alignment on their collective responsibilities. The atmosphere was thick with emotion, a delicate balance of anticipation, tension, and the hope of resolution. Kirk began, voice measured but firm. "We need to revisit our plans. Every step, every decision needs to be carefully considered. The stakes are too high for assumptions or Jasmine nodded, visibly anxious but determined. "I agree. We need a clear framework not just for ourselves, but for the children and for the people who are watching us. They deserve honesty, and so do we." Kendra.com but resolute, added, "Boundaries, protocols, and transparency. That's the only way we can survive this, and ensure that we're doing right by everyone involved." The conversation, which lasted for hours, was emotionally charged. Long simmering fears, concerns about public perception, and personal insecurities were voiced and examined in painstaking detail. Every statement carried enormous weight, and every silence was imbued with significance, as each participant navigated both their personal stakes and the shared responsibilities of impending parenthood. During a particularly intense moment, Jasmine's voice rose, trembling with both emotion and urgency. "We can't keep pretending that everything is fine. We need action, not words. I need to feel that you're truly committed, Kirk, not just to me, but to both of us and to the children." Kendra, equally firm, added, "And I need to see accountability. Words aren't enough anymore. We have to act in a way that reflects our responsibilities, not just our intentions." Kirk, feeling the gravity of their statements, exhaled deeply. "I understand. I'm committed to doing what's right, and I know that means more than just saying the right things. I'll prove it through actions, not promises." Outside the meeting room, the world continued to speculate, discuss, and analyze. Social media platforms remained a relentless presence, amplifying every detail, dissecting every nuance, and creating a pressure cooker environment that was impossible to ignore. Fans debated motives, dissected interactions, and theorized about outcomes, while the trio struggled to maintain focus, protect their personal boundaries, and navigate the complex realities of their situation. Over the subsequent days, the trio implemented new strategies designed to foster stability, reduce misunderstandings, and maintain transparency. Regularly scheduled updates, joint statements, and coordinated communications allowed them to control, to some extent, the narrative while ensuring that each person's voice and perspective was acknowledged. The process was painstaking, and moments of tension remained inevitable, but over time, Jasmine and Kendra began to find common ground, discovering that shared experiences, mutual concern for their children, and a commitment to truth could serve as a foundation for collaboration. Kirk, for his part, continued to demonstrate engagement and responsibility, gradually rebuilding trust and fostering a sense of reliability and consistency that had previously been in question. Despite the progress, the emotional stakes remained extraordinarily high. A new revelation emerged in the form of previously undisclosed messages that suggested a possible miscommunication or oversight in past interactions. Jasmine and Kendra, both unsettled by this discovery, confronted Kirk directly. "We need clarity now," Jasmine demanded. "Anything left in the shadows only fuels uncertainty and conflict." Kendra added, "We can't continue moving forward with doubts hanging over us. We need honesty, complete transparency, and immediate resolution." Kirk, acknowledging the urgency and gravity, responded with measured resolve. "We face it head-on. There's no hiding, no avoidance. We deal with everything openly, and together. That's the only responsible path forward." The confrontation was intense, marked by bursts of emotion, careful deliberation, and a relentless pursuit of clarity. Old fears resurfaced, new questions arose, and the trio navigated the labyrinth of personal responsibility, public expectation, and parental accountability. By the end of the night, incremental progress had been made. The revelations were addressed, uncertainties were clarified, and a renewed sense of commitment emerged. While the journey was far from complete, the trio began to establish a foundation of trust, communication, and mutual understanding that would be essential in navigating the ongoing challenges. Over the following weeks, patterns emerged. The trio developed a rhythm of interaction that balanced transparency with discretion, emotional expression with pragmatic decision-making, and public engagement with private reflection. Each day offered new challenges, yet also new opportunities to strengthen bonds, demonstrate accountability, and build a framework for managing the complex realities of their intertwined lives. Small successes, moments of connection, and tangible progress provided reassurance that, despite the intensity of their circumstances, it was possible to navigate the chaos with integrity and care. And as the weeks continued, the narrative began to shift. What had initially been perceived as a scandal of immense proportions evolved into a story of resilience, adaptation, and the relentless pursuit of responsibility and truth. While public scrutiny remained, and challenges continued to arise unexpectedly, the trio's growing capacity for cooperation, communication, and mutual support offered a pathway forward, one defined not by sensationalism alone, but by human complexity, accountability, and the shared responsibility of impending parenthood. Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra, though tested at every turn, continued to face each day with determination, navigating the ongoing drama, emotional turbulence, and external pressures with the understanding that the choices they made now would have consequences far beyond their immediate circumstances. Each conversation, each decision, each act of honesty or transparency contributed to the evolving narrative, underscoring the delicate balance between personal responsibility, parental obligation, and public scrutiny. Through it all, one constant remained: the commitment to act with integrity, to protect the children, and to navigate the unprecedented complexities of their intertwined lives with courage, clarity, and a growing sense of resilience. The intensity of Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra's lives only escalated as the weeks progressed. Every day seemed to introduce a new layer of complexity, a fresh emotional challenge, or an unexpected consequence that demanded immediate attention. The dual pregnancies were no longer just a private matter, they had become a public spectacle, dissected in real time across social media platforms, news outlets, and fan communities. Every post, every story, every interaction contributed to a narrative that grew increasingly difficult to manage. Jasmine, attempting to preserve some semblance of normalcy, began to craft daily routines that balanced her health, her pregnancy, and the emotional turbulence that seemed omnipresent. She attended prenatal appointments with precision, ensuring that her medical needs were prioritized. Yet the constant public scrutiny made even simple activities a high-stakes endeavor. "It's exhausting," she confided to a trusted friend one evening, her voice a mixture of fatigue and determination. "Every move I make is analyzed, every word interpreted. I can't relax for even a moment, but I have to for the baby, for myself, and for Kirk." Kendra, similarly, navigating the storm, maintained a composed exterior. Yet the pressure of constant vigilance was evident in her meticulous scheduling and unwavering attention to communication. She meticulously documented conversations, planned meetings, and established protocols to reduce miscommunication and maintain clarity amidst the chaos. "I have to control what I can," she admitted privately. "Every decision, every interaction, has consequences. I can't leave anything to chance, not for me, not for the child, not for Kirk." At the epicenter of this whirlwind, felt the compounded weight of personal accountability, paternal responsibility, and the relentless scrutiny of the public. Each day demanded a careful calibration of honesty, empathy, and logistical management. Nights were often sleepless as he weighed the ramifications of past decisions and planned for an unpredictable future. "I need to be present, not just physically, but emotionally," he murmured during a rare moment of reflection. "These aren't just choices for me, they affect 2 lives, 2 families, and countless others who are watching." One afternoon, a carefully planned meeting brought Jasmine, Kendra, and Kirk together at a neutral location to navigate pressing concerns and establish forward-looking strategies. The atmosphere was tense, each participant acutely aware of the stakes involved. Kirk began the conversation with deliberate calm. "We need to address everything head-on. No delays, no our responsibility to the children, ourselves, and the public demands honesty and clarity." Jasmine, visibly tense yet resolute, responded, "We can't allow uncertainty to dictate our actions anymore. We need structure, transparency, and mutual accountability." Kendra added, her tone firm and measured, "Boundaries and clear communication are essential. We have to protect the children, our personal lives, and ensure that we are all aligned in our expectations and responsibilities." Hours passed as they dissected every scenario, addressed lingering questions, and worked through unresolved emotional issues. The dialogue was raw, honest, and at times emotionally charged, highlighting the depth of fear, frustration, and hope that had developed over the preceding weeks. During a particularly intense moment, Jasmine's voice cracked with urgency. "We can't pretend that everything is fine. We need action. I need to feel that Kirk is fully committed, not just to me, but to Kendra as well. And I need to know that we're all on the same page moving forward." Kendra, equally emphatic, echoed the sentiment. "Accountability isn't just words, it's actions, consistency, and a shared commitment to what's right. That's the only way we can survive this situation intact." Kirk, absorbing the gravity of their words, responded with measured intent. "I understand. I'll show my commitment through actions, through transparency, and through being present every step of the way. We'll navigate this together." As the conversation concluded, small steps toward equilibrium emerged, though the journey remained fraught with potential pitfalls. The trio established protocols, routines, and shared responsibilities that created a tentative framework for stability. Even with this progress, the public gaze remained a persistent, often intrusive presence. Fans dissected every post, screenshot, and media interaction, offering opinions, predictions, and judgments that amplified the pressure and complexity of their daily lives. The scrutiny was relentless, but the trio gradually learned to navigate it with strategy, coordination, and a careful balance of transparency and discretion. Over time, incremental victories became apparent. Jasmine and Kendra, once at odds, began to identify areas of common interest and shared concern, particularly in relation to the well-being of the children. Kirk's consistent involvement and attention to detail fostered a growing sense of trust, albeit tempered by the recognition that past mistakes could not be erased. However, the situation was far from static. New developments surfaced in the form of messages and communications from past acquaintances, reigniting questions and introducing fresh uncertainties. Jasmine and Kendra, confronting these revelations, insisted on immediate transparency. "We can't let anything simmer in secrecy," Jasmine asserted. "Any delay risks magnifying doubt, mistrust, and conflict." Kendra agreed, adding, "We need complete clarity now. Waiting only complicates matters further." Kirk, acknowledging both the urgency and the gravity of the situation, reassured them, "We face this together, honestly and directly. There is no hiding, no avoidance. We deal with every issue as it arises." The confrontation was intense, emotional, and exhausting, yet ultimately constructive. By the end of the discussion, key issues were clarified, lingering uncertainties addressed, and a renewed sense of commitment and accountability was established. The emotional landscape remained complex, but incremental progress provided a foundation upon which to build stability and resilience. As the weeks continued, routines, communication strategies, and boundaries became more established. Scheduled discussions, transparent updates, and coordinated public statements allowed the trio to maintain some control over the narrative. Even as external pressures persisted, moments of emotional connection and collaboration between Jasmine and Kendra became more frequent, while Kirk's active participation reinforced trust and demonstrated accountability. Despite these positive developments, challenges persisted. Unforeseen complications, emotional triggers, and the relentless gaze of the public ensured that every decision carried weight and every interaction could potentially escalate into conflict. Yet, through careful management, proactive engagement, and mutual commitment. The trio gradually navigated these challenges with increasing skill and resilience. Over time, the narrative began to evolve from one defined by scandal and chaos into a story of adaptation, resilience, and deliberate action. The focus shifted toward responsible parenthood, emotional accountability, and the management of complex interpersonal dynamics under extraordinary circumstances. Through honesty, structured communication, and shared responsibility, Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra continued to navigate the extraordinary landscape of their intertwined lives. Each decision, each conversation, each measured response contributed to the ongoing development of a narrative that balanced public scrutiny, personal integrity, and the well-being of the children at the center of the story. And as the days turned into weeks, the trio maintained their commitment to integrity, transparency, and mutual support, building a framework for managing their complex reality while striving for emotional stability and long-term resolution. While uncertainty remained an ever-present companion, the incremental progress, moments of connection, and demonstration of accountability provided a path forward, underscoring the resilience and adaptability of the individuals involved, and the profound stakes of the situation they were navigating together. And there you have it, the full whirlwind of events, revelations, and emotional chaos that has engulfed Kirk, Jasmine, and Kendra. This story is far from over, and as fans, you get to watch every twist, every confrontation, and every heartfelt moment unfold. Who will emerge stronger? Can trust be fully rebuilt? And what surprises still await in the lives of these three intertwined by scandal, love, and responsibility? We want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Kirk can navigate this storm successfully? Or are tensions destined to explode again? Comment below with your predictions, theories, and favorite moments from this roller coaster of drama. Don't forget to hit that like button if you were shocked by the twists. Subscribe so you don't miss any updates from this ongoing saga. And turn on notifications to stay in the loop as the story continues to evolve. The chaos isn't ending anytime soon, and your voice matters in the conversation. Join the discussion, share your reactions, and stay tuned. You won't want to miss what happens next.